Alex finally got married, but it wasn't to me. From the age of 8 to 28, I was by her side for 20 years. The moment she chose someone else, I became a complete joke. Amidst everyone's sympathetic glances, I hysterically questioned her, but ended up getting knocked down by a light fixture. After coming back to life, I decided to let go of the past, but then she traveled a long distance to find me. I regretted it. Don't leave me. Some people are just ungrateful. Mike, who handed out flyers with me, thought I was worth more. In the bustling mall, they set up a whole wedding scene in a sea of balloons and flowers. Eric got down on one knee, his loving gaze fixed on Alex in front of him. With everyone's cheers, Alex was moved to tears and accepted Eric's proposal. In my last life, the scene hit me hard. I went up all emotional and made a scene, questioning Alex. It was ugly. The two of them were so well matched on stage, and there I was in my faded work uniform, hysterically causing a scene, looking like a clown in the middle of their strong relationship. When the huge light fixture fell on me, I saw Eric instinctively shield Alex in his arms. 20 years of companionship and obsession finally turned to nothing. I was seriously injured, and I couldn't make it to the hospital in time. At that moment, Mike gripped my hand tightly, looking at me with concern. His expression seemed to say he'd follow my lead and stand by me if I wanted to confront her. I remembered that in my last life, when everyone was just trying to escape, he risked his own safety to help me and ended up with a broken leg. My eyes went red, and I gave him a big hug. He was stunned for a moment, but then patted my back in return. There are plenty of women out there, don't be sad. I smiled and said, yeah, you're right. I'm not sad. Experiencing life and death, I'm really not sad anymore. A poor person's love always tests the heart, let alone a guy who once led a wealthy life. Her friend stepped in to stop me. Some even sided with Eric. Ben, you're not worthy of her. Don't embarrass yourself. Only Eric can help Alex get back on her feet. If you love her that much, how can you stand to see her struggle? Alex doesn't love you. She just feels obligated. Stop forcing yourself on her. Yeah, it's always just been one-sided with me. Mike was angry, ready to argue with them, but I held him back. I looked at Alex approaching and nodded slightly at her. Wish you guys happiness. Her face flashed a hint of surprise, her eyes a bit puzzled. After that, I straightforwardly left with Mike, leaving everyone shocked. What's going on? Is he just playing hard to get? There's no way he'd let Alex go so easily. There will definitely be drama later on. Ignoring the murmurs behind us, I returned my work badge and flyers to the store owner and left them all. Alex's parents were my sponsors. I was a kid from a poor mountain village, having lost my parents early and lived with my elderly grandfather. During a TV Poverty Aid event, the young Alex chose me when I was 8. After my grandpa passed, Alex's parents took me in. That was my first time in the city, nervously standing in Alex's mansion garden. There was a big hole in my sneakers with my big toe popping out. Feeling inferior, I kept my head down, but Alex's mom kindly gave me a hug. From that day on, I became a part of Alex's family. Alex's parents were amazing people who treated me like their own, even better than their own child. Sadly, good people don't live long. When I turned 18, Alex's parents lost their investment. Stressed by debt collectors, Alex's mom drove while exhausted, hit a bridge railing and plunged into the river with the car. After they passed, Alex was devastated for a long time, until the college acceptance letters arrived. We both got into good local colleges, but that only brought brief joy. Tuition could be covered by loans, but we had to come up with living expenses ourselves. Alex's parents' creditors kept pressing both of us. Going to college became unrealistic. In her surprised gaze, I tore up my acceptance letter. Alex, you go to college. I'll work to support you. Without Alex's parents, I wouldn't have left the mountains. I might have dropped out of school and gotten married way earlier, living who knows what kind of life now. If one of us had to sacrifice for the other, I'd choose me. During her 4 years in college, Alex worked incredibly hard, always topping the class. She'd send me her scholarship money right away, telling me not to work so hard. I juggled 3 jobs, making coffee by day, working a convenience store register at night. In between, I did promo work outside supermarkets. Even when sick, I wouldn't see a doctor, just tough it out in bed. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't fill the debt Alex's parents left. Once, I was so exhausted I passed out into a patch of bushes, getting all scratched up. When I limped back to the basement I rented, Alex suddenly returned and hugged me tightly. Her tears flowed down my neck, seeping into my scratched skin and stinging painfully. Ben, we'll have a good life someday. Alex's parents were good to me. Grandpa taught me never to be ungrateful. I never expected Alex to repay me for all I did. But then she kissed me, and in that moment, the seed hidden deep inside me for years suddenly sprouted. The year Alex graduated from college, she scored a great job at Eric's company. As she climbed the ranks over the years, my burden eased a bit. I quit my night job, started studying at home, aiming to get a degree on my own. I wanted to bridge the gap between Alex and me. I tagged along with Alex to a few of her friends' gatherings. They were having a blast chatting, and I couldn't find a word to say. After coming back, I made up my mind to catch up in my studies and match her pace. Mike, my coworker at the coffee shop, watched our story unfold over time. He whispered to me, Ben, your girl Alex is not only pretty, but also really capable. There are countless guys outside eyeing her. You're not getting any younger. Find some time to make it official before it's too late. When Alex came home from work, I vaguely brought up marriage. She brushed it off nonchalantly, shifting the topic. I thought she was just too tired from work and stressed, so I didn't press further. What happened next, though, caught me off guard. A heavy rain poured over the weekend. After my shift at the coffee shop, I hurried to bring Alex an umbrella as she worked late. Unexpectedly, I saw her coming out with a guy, both laughing and getting into a car. I don't know when I dropped the umbrella as I stood there, drenched by the rain, lost and dispirited. That night, I waited for hours until she came back past midnight. I asked her where she'd been, and she, looking exhausted, claimed she'd been working late. You're lying. My voice suddenly sharpened. That day, we had a nasty argument. She slammed the door and never came back. I called her countless times with no answer. I waited for her outside her office, and eventually a familiar face told me she went on a trip with the boss's son. A month later, she finally came back, but only to pack her things. Despite my stubborn attempts to stop her, she sighed and said, Ben, even if we work our whole lives, we can't repay our parents' debts. I'm exhausted. I've worked so hard, but can't compete with others who have connections. I can put in countless all-nighters and have my achievements snatched in a blink of an eye. I don't want this anymore, can you understand? I felt as if struck by lightning, staring incredulously at Alex before me. I grew up comfortable, but I've struggled long enough these years. What I lost, I'll get back eventually. Ben, you can't help me. She left decisively, her silhouette firm yet lonely. I hugged a blanket all night long. In the decade after Alex's parents passed, we were inseparable. Then we became each other's world. Her life was filled with people, but she was the only person I had. Unwilling to give up, I looked for her time and again, trying to win her back, but she always avoided me. Mike saw how devastated I was and dragged me to pass out flyers at a new mall to get my mind off things. We stumbled upon Alex's wedding, and I accidentally got killed by a falling light. Maybe I lived a pathetic life and died a pathetic death too, so heaven gave me a second chance. In my previous life, my world revolved around Alex. This time, I wanted to live for myself. After calmly exiting the mall, I went home. I called my landlord to terminate the lease and started packing. I had lived in this bustling city for 20 years, once thinking I'd never leave, but now with nothing to hold me, I knew it was time to go. My baggage was simple, just a few sets of clothes and shoes. Everything else in the house I had shared with Alex, and I didn't want any of it. As I opened the door, Alex was there, key in hand. I was a bit surprised. She lowered her eyes, eyeing my suitcase. Where are you going? To Mike's for a few days. I answered honestly, leaving out the part where I didn't plan on coming back. Let me take you. Alex sighed in relief, stepping forward. I gently stepped back, avoiding her move. She stiffened instantly, and I gave a somewhat ironic smile. I've walked these lonely roads at 2 a.m. for years now. It's nothing new. Facing Alex blocking the elevator, I asked with a bit of exasperation, why are you here? Her eyes grew uneasy, and her voice lowered as if words were hard to speak. Ben, stop making this difficult. Stop showing up in front of Eric. He's unhappy after finding out about us. I nearly laughed at how absurd it was and interrupted her. Me being there today was just an accident. Don't worry, I won't cling to you anymore. Alex's lip quivered a bit, her smile forced as she swallowed back her words. Finally, she merely advised, I've already bought this place. Stay here and consider it compensation for the past years. Just forget about me. Before, I would have said no stubbornly, maybe even begged her not to leave. But having brushed past death's doorstep, I had let it go. She was the only family I had. Without her, I still had to live on. The days had to go on, alone but alive, ready for a fresh start. I met her eyes with a calm gaze, agreeing easily. Sure, I promise. Can you let me pass now? Alex looked shocked, having prepared a litany of reasons to persuade me that ended up unnecessary. I quit my job at the coffee shop and stayed with Mike for a couple of days. He was happy to see me bounce back, but also felt indignant for me. You gave so much to Alex, all those years together, and she just moves on like that? Women, I tell you, they're no good. I shrugged it off, not even a flicker of emotion inside. Alex's parents did so much for me, and I once risked my life for Alex. Let's just call it even, going our separate ways owing nothing. I was thinking about where to head next and finally decided to go back to the mountains, visit Grandpa's resting place. On the day I set out, Alex sent me a message. It was an electronic wedding invite. In the photo, they were both beaming with happiness. The next moment, the message was withdrawn. The chat showed typing for a few minutes, and then, sorry, sent to the wrong person. That wasn't like Alex. It must have been Eric using her phone, making a point. I couldn't care less about such petty games. I closed the chat and blocked her on all platforms. Alex and Eric's wedding was a grand affair. The family's wealth flaunted with a line of luxury cars clogging the street. Passers-by took numerous videos, sending it trending with mixed reactions. Some envied. Being born into a rich family is a skill, and she's got it. Some were jealous, born with little, but she sure fixed that with a rich husband. No worries for life. Others dug up old stories. Rumor has that this groom had a first love, dumped her to climb social ladders. If true, this lady sure is something else. While I stumbled through mountain trails, clueless that I became the topic of online sympathy. Stepping off the minibus, endless green mountains stretched ahead. I left this place on my own and came back alone, having journeyed through life, returning to the beginning. I once suggested to Alex that we visit the mountains. She always said she was too busy. I waited and waited, but nothing ever happened. The mountains looked different now, with concrete roads running from the county to the mountain town. The minibus stopped here as its final destination, no further transport. My village lay on an inconspicuous mountaintop. Life was tough in the mountains back then, with water and farming a constant struggle. The whole region had just one school in town. As a kid, I had to rise before dawn for school. Grandpa would carry me over a mountain and wade through a river to get to the town. Now with my suitcase in hand, I retraced those steps with a mix of nostalgia and anxiety. Help! A cry for help broke the silence, and I turned to see the stone bridge at the town's entrance was quiet, and a small figure struggled in the river below. Seeing the splashing fade, I instinctively jumped in. The mountain river was freezing, but I gritted my teeth and swam toward the center. Grabbing the child from behind, I headed back. The commotion drew locals, and someone fetched a long bamboo pole to assist. With everyone's help, we managed to save the child. Isn't this Linda's kid? Someone recognized the child and quickly took him to the local clinic. I heaved a sigh of relief, wringing out my soaked clothes, and found a place to stay in town. Before dawn the next day, I headed up the mountain. As I reached the top, the sun peeked over the horizon. Leaning against Grandpa's tombstone, I let out years of bottled-up grief, crying uncontrollably. Grandpa, I miss you. Back then, poverty brought us not only hardship, but also disease. I can barely remember my parents' faces now. The year they passed, there was a heavy snowstorm. Snow sealed off the mountains, leaving the area with no medicine or food, claiming many lives. TV stations reported the disaster, leading to widespread donations and aid campaigns. It was during such a campaign that I met Alex's parents. I was a scrawny, nondescript child among many, while Alex stood out in a tidy little dress. Under the cameras, that publicate event was a punch to the dignity of the recipients. I was too young to know what pride meant, but I still wanted to run from those pitying looks. But I couldn't run. After my parents died, there was no breadwinner. Grandpa was old and frail. Our family was destitute. Uncles and relatives couldn't help us. They could barely help themselves. When survival is at stake, what's the use of pride? I couldn't afford to run. I had to win over the donors to survive. With Grandpa, I approached Alex when she was alone, looking up at her. Pick me. I'll always stay with you and never leave. These days, Mike calls often and sometimes mentions Alex. When you left, she kept parking her car outside the community. Then she realized something was off and confronted me about your whereabouts. No way I'd tell her. I let her have it instead. Unlike Mike's indignation, it all seems a bit amusing to me. Alex and I have drawn the line. She has new family now. She always thought I was a mess, but now that I let go, she's the one who can't seem to move on. Childhood promises stayed with me my whole life. Last life, I never thought about leaving her, but in this one, I owe her nothing. On the way down the mountain, I unexpectedly ran into my uncle and his family. They warmly insisted I visit their home the next day, and I agreed. With time, young people from the mountains left for jobs elsewhere. As life improved, they brought their families with them, and those families who didn't move away mostly relocated from the mountains to the small town at the base. During meals, Aunt keeps piling food onto my plate. "You've grown into such a fine young man. Haven't seen you in years," she exclaims. "Are you still living with the family that adopted you, and are you married yet?" When she learns I'm still single, she pats her chest confidently. "Don't worry, Andy here will sort you out. There are several nice girls in the village I can introduce you to," she insists. Her enthusiastic, jump-at-any opportunity attitude is a bit overwhelming, so I quickly wave my hands. No, it's okay. But she dismisses my protest. "Ben, I'm not trying to meddle, but boys your age usually have 2 kids by now. If your grandpa were alive, seeing you all alone would break his heart." Mentioning Grandpa makes me emotional. In the countryside, it's common for boys like me who left school early to marry young. At my age, being single and without a degree is rare. No wonder Auntie's worried. Just when I'm struggling to decline her help, a commotion erupts at the door. "Is Ben here?" A neatly dressed girl with sun-kissed skin and a bright, toothy smile appears. She plops 2 baskets of eggs in front of me, leaving me totally confused. "I'm the aunt of the kid you saved from drowning the other day. If it weren't for you, my niece might have been in big trouble. I'm here to say thank you." Linda sounds so sincere. Annie gives us a surprised look and smacks her leg excitedly. "Wow, what a coincidence," she exclaims, then turns to whisper in my ear. "Linda's from the city. She's got a good heart and looks. I heard she's a graduate of a prestigious university. Lots of families have tried to connect with her, but she's turned them down. You two have this fate between you. Don't miss this chance." Seeing Auntie's gossiping gleam, I awkwardly excuse myself. Linda follows me outside, and I'm curious about how she found me. She explains with a laugh, "It wasn't hard. In a small town, most people know each other. New faces usually stay at the inn. I asked the innkeeper and found out you were the only new young guy checking in the day before yesterday." Dressed formally, I tug at my tight collar. "You're here visiting family, right? I live at the town school. If you need help, feel free to reach out," she offers, already knowing I'm staying short-term. Linda goes with me to the inn. She seems well acquainted with the owner, and after a short chat, they give me a key and the address of a small courtyard house. "This is our family property. Since you're Linda's friend, we'll rent it to you cheaply," the owner says. Overjoyed, I gratefully thank them. Though Alex gifted me a house, old habits die hard, and I still tend to save money. Fortunately, things are affordable in the small town, and my savings should last me a while here. My uncle told me about a recent landslide near Grandpa's grave site. Luckily, the area was uninhabited, so no one was hurt, but there's no telling if more slides could happen. After discussing with my uncle, we decided to choose a new burial spot for Grandpa. That's partly why I'm staying a while. Hearing about this, Linda kindly helps out a lot. Her casual demeanor surprises me. She wears a white top, a plaid shirt, baggy pants, and canvas shoes, quite different from a typical teacher's image. But she's efficient with the work. The small town has changed a lot since my childhood memories. Before I can decide on a new grave site, Linda comes with a map. She's marked several potential spots for me. With the help of Uncle and Linda, the task is completed smoothly. Linda's niece, Bella, tags along with us often, getting so dirty it makes her look like a little raccoon. She's tough-looking, resembling Linda in features, but with fairer skin. Running around town gets her into trouble often, giving Linda a headache. Out of curiosity, I ask, "Where are her parents? Why are you looking after her?" "My sister and her husband are busy with work, so they leave her with me here since I'm teaching," Linda explains. Linda seems like a city kid, warm, straightforward, polite, and worldly. Most importantly, she's neither self-conscious nor timid, embracing new experiences. I wonder why she's teaching here. With a chuckle, she touches the back of her head and says, "My dad was a volunteer teacher here. I wanted to see where he worked." Watching her face, a similar smile flashes through my memories. Was it Mr. John? How's he doing now? Linda's eyes light up, but quickly dim. He passed away. Regretting my words, I apologize quickly. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. She waves it off with a smile, brushing the matter aside. Because of Mr. John, Linda and I grow closer. When I was school-age, Grandpa carried me over mountain paths to get me to school. Mr. John greeted me on my first day, teaching me to write my name. Ben, as in handsome Ben, he'd say, laughing and handing me a small dark piece of candy. I held it in my palm for a long time, and by the time I returned home, it had melted into a gooey mess. Grandpa pushed my hand back, signaling for me to eat it myself. I gingerly licked my palm. The taste was bitter, but it felt sweet inside. Back in the day, a lot of young teachers came to teach in the mountain area, but many left too. Most just came and went, and I didn't even get to recognize their faces before they left. But he stuck around for a long time. Even till I was taken in by Alex's family, he still didn't leave. Once I got to know Linda better, she occasionally invited me to help out at the school. The kids from the town all studied there, but compared to the past, there were way fewer of them. Linda said it's a necessary sign of societal progress. It's actually a good thing showing fewer kids are separated from their parents now. There weren't many teachers at the school, and Linda handled most of the subjects on her own. When she got too busy, she'd ask me to supervise the students with their homework. I awkwardly shook my head, embarrassed. I didn't study much. I'm afraid I'd mess things up for the kids. She just laughed and encouraged me. You won't know until you try. I heard you were pretty good back in the day. This should be a piece of cake for you. I had no idea where her blind faith in me came from, and I got all flustered, put on the spot. But lucky for me, I had studied hard back then. Picking up the knowledge I hadn't touched for years wasn't totally unfamiliar. The more time I spent with the kids, the longer I stayed in the town. If it weren't for Mike occasionally mentioning her on the phone, I'd have almost forgotten about Alex. Seems like Eric's company's in some trouble. There are rumors their projects were obtained through illegal means and have uncovered a lot of old scandals. He hesitated for a moment, but then said it. Ben, lately, Alex has been hanging around below my building. Looks like she's waiting for you to come back. Thinking about the days spent with Alex felt like something from a past life. Lost in thought, a shy little boy came up to me in the classroom and placed a freshly washed peach into my palm. "Mr. Ben, try it, it's really sweet." His pure smile wiped away the gloom in my heart instantly, and watching his bashful figure run off, I couldn't help but smile. As I picked up the textbooks these days, I suddenly thought of the diploma I didn't get in my previous life. Back then, I needed it, hoping to get closer to Alex. But now, the obsession with the diploma has faded, and what reignited within me was a longing for college. Linda sometimes tells me stories from her college days up north and how different it was from our southern town. But the similarities, the liveliness, the brightness, the allure, they left you yearning. I remember accompanying Alex to college, watching the brightly lit library and the students walking back to the dorms in groups. If I said I wasn't envious, it would be a lie, but whenever Alex looked at me apologetically, I just pretend not to care. At first, she tried to teach me things she was learning in college, but I was too busy working, trying to earn money to focus on studying. Later, she thought I wasn't interested and got too busy with her own studies, so it just got brushed aside. But think about it, I used to be a good student too, got into a decent college. How could I not want to be a better person and strive for a better future? Yet, those desires were suppressed by reality, buried deep inside. Even I had convinced myself otherwise. The townsfolk brought a jug of homemade plum wine. Linda, not knowing its strength, drank too much. She ended up holding on to the big tree outside the classroom, talking nonsense. Luckily, the students had already gone home. Otherwise, if they'd seen her like this, she wouldn't have dared to show her face the next day. After getting Bella to wash up and go to sleep, I went to find her. Drunk Linda looked sweet but acted rebelliously. She didn't want to go back to sleep, but dragged me all the way to the bus stop at the edge of town. Pointing at the empty waiting area, she said, "When I was a kid, my dad was hardly ever home. I missed him a lot. My sister said when I grew up, I could go and find him. The first time I came here looking for my dad, I waited all day until midnight before he came to pick me up. I was just starting middle school at that time. Traveled a long way all by myself, hoping to see him, only to be hit with disappointment. Later on, in a fit of rebellion, I went far away for college and refused to come back after graduation. During our occasional phone calls, I'd hang up impatiently, getting an earful from my mom for it. I never talked to him properly, so when he fell ill, he didn't even tell me. When he passed away, I was out of town on a business trip. By the time I rushed back, he was already gone. I didn't get to see him one last time. As she talked, Linda seemed to sober up a bit. She sat down on the ground, hugging her knees and burying her head in them. It's great that you still remember him, that someone still remembers him. The town was silent, and the sound of sobbing slowly started to rise in my ears. Before I knew it, the moon had come out. I gently patted her shoulder. It's not just me who remembers him. All the kids he ever taught will remember him too. Back in the day, a lot of people tried to get John to leave with them, but he gently yet firmly refused. Even though families with better conditions had started moving out of the mountains, there were still those who couldn't, and those kids needed an education too. Especially in these impoverished areas, the kids have to work hard to change their destiny and leave the mountains. All I can do is promise never to leave as long as there's one kid who hasn't made it out yet. Back then, I didn't know the sacrifices he'd made for that decision. Seeing the vulnerable Linda now, I truly understand how great he was. John may not have been the perfect father, but he was undoubtedly the greatest one. The next day, after sleeping off the booze, Linda saw me and looked a bit embarrassed for once. She slowly walked over, trying to find the words. I drank a lot yesterday. I didn't do anything weird, did I? I playfully teased her a bit. Oh, you did. She was shocked. No way. What did I do? Well, you hugged that tree at the station and insisted on taking it home. Linda slapped her forehead in frustration and covered her face. I laughed out loud and went to get the students to class, not knowing why they laughed with me at her too. She was completely silent after that. Maybe that night opened something up, because Linda and I started talking more. You're probably wondering if my mom ever blamed my dad, right? Of course she did. But she would always tell us that my dad was doing something worthwhile and we should support him. So she raised my sister and me on her own, which let my dad stay in the mountains without worrying. I wasn't surprised by what she said. Only a loving family like that could raise someone as open-hearted as Linda. Yeah, you have no idea. Some miracle I survived those years with my mom. When I was little, I'd sleep with my mom and her snoring would keep me up all night. If I managed to nudge her, she'd turn over and nearly squish me. Overcooked noodles were the least of it. One time she made fried rice with eggs, and the shells were still in there. After school, she'd come to pick me up on her bike. I'd barely sit on the back and she'd pedal off with a big kick, forgetting me until she got home. Eventually, my grandma took us in for a couple of years after that. Once I started school, I was trailing my sister everywhere, with a nose full of snot trailing behind me. So many tears when I remember those days. I couldn't help but laugh at her stories, and she turned away a bit shy, scratching her head. Time flew by in the small town, and before I knew it, I'd been there for 2 months. Sometimes when I ate at my aunt's place, she'd pull me aside with questions. I see you and Miss Linda getting along well. How's it going between you two? I quickly turned red and clarified. Linda and I are just friends, and don't go matchmaking us. Over time, I realized Linda and Alex were completely different people. When I was preparing for self-study exams, Alex dismissed the idea, saying those diplomas weren't worth it, and she'd take care of me if I just stayed put. But when Linda saw me pick up a textbook, it was like she could see what I truly wanted. She said, "It's never too late to start doing what you want. You should live life the way you really want to." In town, I hadn't thought about the past much, except when Alex would pop up in the most inconvenient ways. When she called, Linda and I were rushing to Karen's house. The same little boy who gave me peaches in class. The school's resources in the town only went up to middle school. Higher education meant heading to the city. Karen's brother, Jack, who was in John's last class and about to enter senior year, had suddenly dropped out and come home. When Linda heard this, she panicked and rushed out immediately. While I was busy settling the students, an unfamiliar number kept calling my phone. I ignored it. When I hurried over to Jack's house, Linda was having a tense conversation with his parents. Jack's grades aren't great. He's not the type for studying, they insisted. In the corner, Jack was crying quietly with his back to us, and Linda spoke urgently. The city schools are more demanding. It's normal to struggle at first. Give him more time, it will get better. What's the point of a rural kid studying so much? Better to start working and help out the family. Linda wasn't deterred. If money's the issue, I'll cover his tuition and living expenses. It's just one more year until his final exams. Let him try. But Jack's parents were set on their decision and didn't budge an inch. Raindrops suddenly started leaking through the black tiles on the roof. The children instinctively grabbed bowls and basins to catch the water. The small, dark, cramped house laid bare their poverty. Feeling defeated, Linda wanted to say more, but was already being shown out the door. We hadn't walked far when Jack came running after us. "Miss Linda, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I'm just too dumb. No matter how hard I try, my grades never improve." "I failed your expectations," Jack said. Linda reassured him with a few words and urged him back inside as the rain poured down harder. She stayed silent the entire way back. I'd never seen her look so down. Her eyes were unfocused and her voice was low. "I always believed that if you worked hard enough, anything was possible. Was I wrong? I tried so hard to help him." I shook my head and shared my thoughts. "You didn't do anything wrong. It's just that this might not be what you were expecting. I was once a kid from the mountains who went to study in the city. I know how much extra effort we need to put in to stand on the same starting line as others. It's hard for kids from humble backgrounds to make it big, but those who are determined to climb will cling to even a sliver of hope. But what if the problem lies within the child? For kids who grew up in the mountains, the city is like a whole different world. It's dazzling, colorful, and brutal. You'll see things you never imagined and lifestyles you'd never dared to dream of. Old clothes, strange accents, they all become reasons to be laughed at. At 15 or 16, our self-esteem grows crazy strong. We can't choose where we're born, but we can control how hard we try. Yet society's resources lean toward the cities. Some are born in Rome, some are born to labor. Even talent is scarce and unevenly distributed. Some gaps just can't be closed no matter how hard you try. The more you hope something will change your destiny, the more you'll fear its approach. Like college entrance exams, for instance. Some kids are strong enough inside to gear up and carve out a future, but those who aren't strong get crushed. Jack might be one of those kids, scared of the exam, of failing, of disappointing his efforts and the expectations of others. So when his parents suggested dropping out, he chose to escape out of fear. If someone regrets it for him later, they have a reason to blame his parents or call it unfair fate. Linda hadn't thought that far and fell deep in thought. Hearing this, though her mom wasn't around much when she was little, she had plenty of love and security from her family. She was a bright student, easily got into a top college, and struggled to understand why some find certain questions hard. "If you haven't lived it, it's hard to make others understand your empathy," Linda asked me. "Is there really nothing that can be done? If that's the case, would you give up?" I asked her in return. Linda shook her head without hesitation. Looking back at the mountains we came from and the long roads that lead to the bustling city, I suddenly made up my mind and said firmly, "There's a way. I'll go with him." Facing the unknown with a partner makes it less scary. Linda looked at me in surprise, and when our eyes met, I said with conviction, "You're right. We should live as we love. What I want to try most now is going to college." In my past life, I followed Alex wherever she went to take better care of her. Working hard for a living and paying off debts, I barely had time to breathe, let alone think about what I wanted. Once after a company gathering, Alex, a bit tipsy and stumbling, flushed with drink, said emotionally, "Ben, someday I'm going to start my own company, and you won't have to struggle anymore. What about you? What kind of future do you want?" Her question left me a bit puzzled, with an indescribable sense of loss. Luckily, she didn't press it further, and I shelved it in the back of my mind. After settling in the small town, life slowed down, giving me lots of time to think, but I felt lost because all my life had revolved around Alex's emotions. Now, planning to live for myself, I realized I had no hobbies or desires. Linda told me, "The future isn't something you just think about. You have to try things to know if they're what you want." So I decided to retake the college entrance exam to experience things I've never lived through before. But the thought of actually enrolling stumped me. Linda stepped in confidently, taking on the whole issue. You don't have to worry about this. I'll handle it. She found a restudy school in the city for me, close to the one Jack attends. We went to Jack's house and tried all sorts of ways to persuade his parents to let him go back to school. The day Jack rejoined school, he hugged me at the entrance and cried hard. I'm so scared I won't pass. Linda spent so much money and effort on me. It would all be wasted. I patted his back to comfort him. Many people don't get another chance. We're lucky, so don't give up this time. Be ready to save yourself from the flames again and again. In the intense study sessions, I got a call from Mike. His voice sounded a bit awkward. Ben, Alex. He didn't finish before someone grabbed the phone. The voice was shaking. Ben, where are you? I miss you so much. Just wait a little longer. I'll sort everything out soon. Wait for me. I listened quietly, then interrupted her. I won't wait for you. We are over, and I don't want you bothering my friends again. I didn't stay in the dorms. Linda rented 2 rooms close to the school and often dropped by with supplies. I convinced Jack to commute daily. After nighttime study sessions, we'd head to the small apartment and review our mistakes together. Honestly, going back to that senior year was a bit tough for me. I hadn't touched academics in years, and my mindset had changed a lot, making it hard to dive in completely. But once I decided to do it, I committed fully. When Alex showed up, I was a bit stunned. She had lost a lot of weight, looking worn out. She hugged me the moment she saw me. Her familiar scent lingered around, and her body trembled. Ben, I've been looking for you like crazy. I thought I'd never see you again in this lifetime. I instinctively pushed her away and looked at her with a frown. You're married now. This constant clinging to me isn't good. She had tears in her eyes and spilled everything like a stream of beans. I'm divorced. The E family set us up back then to get our land cheaply, leading to my family going bankrupt. My parents sold everything to pay off debts, and the Erics pressured them along with creditors, causing them to die in a car crash. I got close to Eric just to bring down his family. I never loved him. The one I've always loved is you. She looked at me pleadingly. Ben, please, do you believe me? I do. I nodded, feeling a pang of sadness for my late parents. Alex was overjoyed, wanting to reach for my hand, but I stepped back to avoid it. Whether you're tired of the hard life or avenging your parents, your choice wasn't wrong. But there's no going back for us. I died once when you chose to marry him, a true death. Alex looked panicked at my indifferent expression. Ben, I'm begging you to forgive me, okay? Give me another chance. I won't make the same mistake again. You will? I mercilessly exposed her. I was never your first choice. You figured I'd back down for you, so you left me without fear. I started a new company, and we have money now. I won't let you suffer again. I'll make you my priority from now on. I can change in any way you want me to. Alex wanted to argue more, but I didn't want to listen any longer. I never felt those days were hard. I'm doing just fine now. You don't need to change for me, and I don't want to be anyone's second choice anymore. People often don't know what they want, but are sure of what they don't want. In this failed relationship, I clearly know I don't want to be someone who depends on others. Clinging in relationships is a form of parasitism. When Alex didn't want me anymore in the past, it was like I couldn't live. Life is filled with beautiful things beyond just love. One shouldn't focus too single-mindedly on it. It's my fault. I'm the one who wronged you. Can't we ever go back to how it was? She said bitterly. I shook my head. Alex, I've moved on. You should too. For someone I shared 20 years with, I feel no hatred, even when she left me. Then, there's more sadness. Even if our paths never cross again, I only wish her well. Ben, you promised you'd never leave me, that you'd stay with me forever. I chuckled bitterly, looking at her with some sadness. Believe it or not, I did stay with you a lifetime once. But that lifetime had too tragic an ending. When Alex left looking lost, I noticed Linda standing not too far away. I didn't know how long she had been there, but the flowers in her hand were wilting. Karen wanted me to give these to you, Linda said a bit awkwardly. I took the flowers and smiled in response. Finally saying goodbye to the past felt really good. Feeling reborn felt even better. Time flew by, and soon it was time for the exams. On the day results were announced, Linda was more nervous than the two of us. Jack and I did well, just making it past the required scores. Linda was so excited she was about to cry. I teased her, "You're always so tearful." I just can't help it. At that moment, she truly understood her father's choice back then. That sense of mission of helping others change their fate made her resolutely follow John's path. Jack applied to a school out of town with loans for tuition and Linda supporting him with living expenses. After that, she continued teaching and took on private projects for extra income. I chose a university in the provincial capital. Before heading off, Linda came to me with a thick envelope. Just enjoy college life there. Don't worry about part-time work. There's plenty of time for that later. If you need money, just let me know. I'll support you. I joked, aren't you afraid I'll take your money and never come back? As long as you're happy, does it really matter if you come back? Even as she said it, the way she clutched the envelope gave her away. She wouldn't admit it, and I didn't press. She wouldn't speak up to influence my decisions, yet she hoped I'd return. During our time in the small town, many destinies quietly changed. Linda hadn't planned to stay long, and I was there briefly. We ended up changing our minds. After college, I returned to the small town. This time, I didn't plan on leaving again. Not just me, but Jack and other kids who left the town schools returned in various ways. Building roads, houses, factories, and bridges, supporting local tourism, using local resources, bridging with businesses to promote local industry and create jobs. More people who left for work away returned to the town, all doing their part for their hometown. More children filled the town again, and many young teachers joined the school. Linda and I stayed here all along. On the day I returned, Linda awkwardly asked, "Why choose to come back?" I wrapped my arms around her and teased, looking at her flushed ears, "Because this is what I want in life. You want every child to have an education, and I want every father to be able to come home."